I would like to welcome our esteemed speakers and panelists, Jayant and Arun. Jayant and Arun, we are honored to have you with us today. I'd like to also welcome Anu, who's the moderator of the webinar today. And before I hand over this space to Anu, I would like to share a brief overview of ILSS and introduce our speakers for today. So who we are and what we do. ILSS is India's finest institution for leadership development in the social sector to spearhead nation building by developing inspired leaders for deeper social impact at scale. ILS's vision and mission is to create capacity for the social sector, which we do through the following programs. So right now we have 6 programs which we are offering and more coming in. 700 plus leaders trained across the programs. So let me start with introductions of one of our esteemed panelists, Jayant Rastogi. Jayant is the global CEO of Magic Bus India Foundation. With over 34 years of experience in establishing and driving scalable businesses for multinational corporations and startups, he has spearheaded a remarkable metamorphosis since joining Magic Bus India Foundation in 2016. His dedication to the social sector is deeply rooted in his personal experience with 2 social startups, which have played a pivotal role in shaping his affiliation with Magic Bus India Foundation. Under Jayant's exceptional leadership, Magic Bus India Foundation has experienced remarkable growth, expanded across 24 states in India. Jayant's thought leadership and policy advocacy have solidified the organization's position. He has been recognized in various media and led Magic Bus India Foundation to prestigious accolades, including the SHM Awards for Best Not-for-Profit Organization and Best NGO for COVID-19 Response in 2022, and has been acknowledged as one of the best NGO to work for 3 consecutive years. I welcome you, Jayant. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritu.
Arun, welcome, Arun. Arun is currently serving as the Executive Director, Sustainability and Livelihoods at Magic Bus India Foundation. He's an accomplished leader with over 40 years of professional experience, spending about 30 years in senior management positions in various organizations in India. His journey reflects a unique blend of corporate excellence and a deep commitment to social impact. His last corporate assignment was as the country manager in India at Accor, where he played a pivotal role in scaling up the organization to become a significant player in the loyalty space. Motivated by a strong commitment to giving back to society, Arun embarked on a transformative journey in 2015 by joining Magic Bus India Foundation. Utilizing his extensive corporate experience, he focused on developing and managing partnerships and establishing robust collaborations between Magic Bus and various sectors. This transition exemplifies Arun's unwavering dedication to creating positive societal impact through strategic alliances, underlining his commitment to social responsibility. Welcome, Arun. We are very happy to have you today.
It's my privilege. Yeah.
Coming to Anu, Anu is the moderator for us today, and Anu is the founder CEO of India Leaders for Social Sector, ILSS. We are a Delhi-based not-for-profit, and we are working to strengthen India's social sector through leadership and talent development. Prior to ILSS, Anu was the founding Deputy Dean of the prestigious Young India Fellowship and a founding member of the Ashoka University, India's first liberal arts university. Before joining the social sector, Anu held leadership roles at multinational companies such as American Express and TNT. Welcome, Anu. I won't take much time because Anu is always very wary about how I have to introduce her. So welcome, Anu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ritu. Thank you for this. And, you know, time is precious. We have a lot to ask these stalwarts, and I'd like to sort of jump right in. So I'm going to divide my questions. So the way the format is, Jayant and Arun, is we will spend some time talking, talking to each other. I have some questions for Jayant and you. And then we'll spend the last half hour taking audience questions. which I'm requesting the participants to start putting their questions down in the Q&A, and we will sort of take time to address those in the second half of the sort of evening. So to begin, wonderful to have you all here so much. You guys are the poster childs for what we are doing at ILSS. We're taking a bet that corporate leaders can play a transformative role in the social impact sector. And who better really than you, Jayant, and you, Arun, really. So I'll start with you, Jayant. 2016, you came into Magic Bus. And while I'll spend some time in the latter half talking about your personal journey, tell me, what was Magic Bus in 2016 when you got there? What was the legacy? And what's been the journey since 2016 to now, which is almost 7.5 years? So a little bit of a before and after. What did you inherit? And what did you sort of focus on? And where are we today?
So see, yeah. So when I joined Magic Bus, one thing which is very good about Magic Bus and the founder Matthew Space, it's very, very honest. The DNA of honesty. And see, Magic Bus had all the issues which were there of a organization which had grown suddenly, right? So when I joined Magic Bus, I actually hadn't bargained for what I actually found. So I was quite scared, to be honest, when I joined Magic Bus. In first 10 days, I was seriously thinking whether I should stay or shall I quit. See, the intent of the organization was very pure and good, but what happens is, if on the ground, what's happening is sometimes just not visible. So when I joined, I realized that, our employee net promoter score was minus 35. And I'm sure people know what employee net promoter score is. How many of your employees are recommending the place to work? Programs were there, but a lot of places the programs were not happening. And the reports used to come to head office because it was all self-reporting. So obviously the depth in programming was definitely much that one could ask for. And our financial health was not all that great because there were months when, we couldn't even, we used to think, could we pay the salaries? So we started at that point in it. But I think one thing really good was that, we were the pioneers in life skill. We were the pioneers in basically experiential learning in India. And we were known for that using the methodology of play. And the organization had a really good name. So before joining the sector, I also did a lot of Googling and seeing kuch garbad to nahi hai, kuch ye to nahi hai. And I found that on all parameters, it was actually, there was nothing which was there in the social media at that point in time. And so that's where the journey started, that, great organization, great intent, but I think, execution was, I think, wanting. And so I think today, I think it's well known that, we are one of the fastest growing large NGOs in the country. We've grown 4x times in the last 6.5 years. And we are one of the best NGOs to work for, which at least to me as a CEO pleases me a lot, that, from minus 35 employee net promoter score, which meant none of our employees were recommending, today we are one of the best places to work. Our NPS scores is north of 60 plus, which is extremely good. More importantly, that, most of our employees connect with the leadership, and also, these surveys with great places which they do is all done anonymously. They send to all the people, and 70% of our employees actually respond back, which is a fantastic connect rate, even from a for-profit standpoint. And the financial health was the other area that we really worked, because see, if your programming is not showing the results in some of the programs, then your funders start walking away. So that was the other thing that we had to address in terms of building a depth in programming. Fortunately, we could build a layer of technology, and it brought in transparency. And that's a different story. It was a nightmare implementing that technology at that point in time, because people some did not want to be exposed, some didn't want technology because they thought they would be tracked. So whatever be the reasons. But from there to, from basically building good financial health, building a diversified funding portfolio, we have 4 or 5 streams of revenue. I think employees come first. So I think really happy on the employees. And I think financial health partnership is good, in the program depth. So I think, when the programs start happening, you are able to kind of, put the technology over there, measure things, how they happen. So I think it automatically kind of starts bringing the depth. It's very important that, whatever is happening, you are able to see, visibly track it from time to time. And we've been able to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think we've progressed well in that direction.
So Jayant, I mean, there's a lot that I can understand the enormity of the work that has happened in the last 8 years, and I may take a couple of days to really, be able to distill all that experience. But even in the short time that we have, just broadly tell me some of the big programs you run. I know that you run the livelihood. Just broadly tell us today, Magic Bus runs these programs in these states, just for the audience to sort of know what Magic Bus is doing today.
So see, we are in 24. So we have two programs. So how we look at it is that we call it childhood to livelihood. So its idea is that we work with adolescent children. That's where the maximum school dropout happens, especially for girls. So this is the ages when they're getting into puberty or just pre-puberty. So for a variety of reasons, distance from home, safe spaces, etc., etc. So we work at that very, very critical age. And we see that, the child either, completes school education, there's, gender equity, resilience, and, the 21st century skills. And then people who don't want to, they have two exit paths. They can get into higher education or they can get into livelihood. On the livelihoods, so we again have a huge program on the livelihood side. So on the adolescent, we are there in almost 24 states. Our annual outreach last year, 31st of March, was 18 lakhs. So last year we gave our intervention to 18 lakh children. And on the livelihood, again, we've become one of the largest implementation organizations, thanks to Arun, who actually also heads livelihood. So from 3,000 when I joined Magic Bus in 2016, last year we had 130,000 odd young people who were part of programs. So it's more than 90% getting jobs in the formal sector. So I think that's a really fantastic skill up.
That's fantastic. And what was the adolescent program when you joined? When you started, what was that number? Because it really shows.
Yeah, it was 3.5 lakhs. But see, what we've done is we've actually started getting into state government partnerships. So with 6 state governments, we've actually formed partnerships. So we are actually either penetrating all school systems or some particular school systems. So our commitment right now is 80 lakhs in terms of state government partnerships only, 80.
Wow.
So end of this year, we should be somewhere around 50 odd lakhs. And the year after that, we should be around 80 lakhs in terms of adolescent.
Wow. These are incredible numbers. I mean, this is population scale impact. So this is fantastic. Now coming to you, Arun, your journey at Magic Bus, and of course, I want you to double click on the Livelihoods program. Clearly, you started when there were 300 odd, and to bring it to 130. What was that whole journey, if you could share with us? Because you also came in the same period as Jayant, right? Around 2016-ish.
Yeah. So I came in 2 years earlier. The only difference between me and Jayant is I'm quite older to him, though we both have gray hairs. So I'm 67, but I actually came in because I just really said I finished my tenure in corporate life and want to do something in this whole social sector. And as destiny is, Amit Chandra introduced me to Magic Bus.
But I hope you were not looking for a retirement life, because retirement life today.
So work for me was religion. So I thought, what do I do after retirement? So I just walked into Magic Bus. It was a very small organization. It was in Sun Mills compound.
Yes.
I know that we didn't have money. We switched off the AC after 2 hours. All crazy stuff. And our revenue, I remember that time, this is for all you folks who are listening here.
Yes.
This is a great journey. It's once in a lifetime journey. Our revenue was 5 crores. 95% of it used to come from overseas. Hardly any money used to come from here, and all was through personal contact of Matthew, one single person raising the money. And there was no concept of structured raising of funds. And CSR law came in a year after I joined. I think I joined 2-3 years before Jayant, and I think the rest is history.
I mean, CSR must have played a huge role in, and you all were obviously right place, right time, doing the right things. But
yeah, I was a single guy after managing Accor and sitting in a corner office. I actually picked up my bag. There was no one else to raise funds. And I started off all alone. And I think today, by God's grace, we are more than 100 donor partners. We are the largest when it comes to raising CSR funds. It's a very fragmented market.
Fantastic.
And I think we have almost all big corporates with us. But as what Magic Bus is, we have diversified our fundraising. We are also in institutional, we are also in retail, we are also in HNI. So it's a well diversified funding. But yes, together from the journey of Sunmill Compound of 6 crores when I joined to now where we are, it's been a phenomenal growth, and it's been a teamwork. It is not one single person who has done it. And I said, now I think we are now talking about in the next 3 years to go to 500 crores.
That's fantastic.
And I think
this is a story for a case. Have you done a case study? Abhi tak hua nahi hai ki hone wala hai?
We've done one case story, which is a case story for teaching in Harvard Business School. I'm sure you're aware of that, Anu. Cash Rangan has done that case story. You know Anu, Cash, and you've all known him. And I guess, yeah, it's just a story of how if you press the right buttons, you have the right people, you have the right strategy, you have the guts, and you know you have the right product, and you're brutally honest.
Yeah.
And you actually say that I'm here because I want to do good to the society. And you know how to do it, and you know how to measure it.
Yeah.
I guess there are people who will come and,
Arun, just to double click, tell me a little bit about the livelihood program. Just for people who don't know, what is this program all about, and what was some interesting partnership for you through the program?
So this program is a program where there are young people, not fortunate like us. They are from underprivileged households, having the same aspiration, I think the same talent level like us, but they are just from the families which is where the average income for the entire family is not more than 2 lakhs. So they are actually living in fringe of poverty. They don't know where the next meal comes off. And if we don't do anything for these young people, they will go in underemployment and never escape the clutches of poverty. That is how this program was born. This program was born in 2016. And when we launched this program, the target audience was young people who have not completed their graduation, mostly targeting the girls because they are the ones who would suffer if they are not self-standing. And I remember the first time we got a very small funding from one of these small organizations, and we promptly failed. We had no idea that it was so tough. And as destiny is, I got in touch with Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. They had blind faith that they can work with us. And they've been still working with us. And all what we did is also because of their own help to us to build our capacity before giving funds. So this program today has expanded where we focus on undergrad young people. We have 120 centers all across India. And in my word, that is gigantic. Then we have a program for graduates where we work in 1,000 colleges, tier 4, 5, 6 colleges, and where none of these young people would ever are having confidence and self-esteem and employability skills, which is, they are not employable ready, let's say. We have programs for engineering students and BSc IT for tech jobs, again from underprivileged households. Sum and substance from the time we started till what we are, last year we skilled 130,000 young people out of 50 large donors.
Fantastic.
And we placed 90% of them in jobs. And this year, we have a funding commitment to place 2 lakh young people in jobs, making us the largest in the non-profit sector. And 2 lakhs for me is one Wipro. So
that's fantastic.
And we have more than 5,000 employers we work with. So that's the kind of scale we have. But what's very important, I'll take a minute, 50% of these cohort are girls.
That's fantastic. If I could clap emoji, I would clap.
Absolutely. And when you get up every day morning, you say, what's your purpose? Our purpose is just to make sure these girls, I think it's 64 right now, these young girls who'd never be left out of their houses because their parents just want to get them married even before they are ready. We train them, we get their parents to agree, we place them with good employers. What do we mean by good employers? We place them in ICICI Bank, we place them in Axis Bank, we place them in Bajaj Finance, H&M. All these young people which you go, when you go meet them in shopping, they are of a magic bus. And what happens? There is a magical transformation happens. They get a salary between 12 and 15. They get a space in their family to say, I want to do this, and build their life choices. And I think their whole family comes out of poverty because their income doubles. Yeah. And that keeps us going. And I think that gender lens and transforming young people and transiting them to the place is what we are really proud of, more proud of than the scale. Of course, we are very happy about the scale.
No, of course.
Jayant is very happy about the scale.
Of course, you have to scale. You're not solving for all the girls in the country as yet.
I guess this is where we are. Yeah.
No, this is fantastic. I mean, something magical is happening at Magic Bus, and I think that's really kudos to you all. Coming back to you, Jayant, this journey, 2016, you're really wondering, have I done the right thing? Very successful corporate career, entrepreneur. I also want to talk about the 4 Ps because I'm interested to understand what is that, and how did you achieve excellence at scale? So what was that journey? But also just guide us through those first early years. What do you pick up? Because there are so many issues. So what do you start with? You have a team that's used to a different, probably founder, maybe a different style. There's so many things, right? So just walk us through that journey.
So I think it was very, very interesting. Personally, for me, I've learned a lot, and I think, probably a much better person. So when you join an organization, obviously, you kind of first few days, months, you just sit, observe, understand. So I realized that where we were, overhead costs used to be really, really high. That means when you used to give us $100, a lot of it used to go into, the management was very little into the programming. So you started realizing that, okay, most of it was like quicksand. Wherever you put your hand, it just got kind of, sucked over there. It was initially extremely. I met some funders and obviously not very happy. The story wasn't great to tell. And what happens is when you join, there is a board which is there. And the board always expects that the CEO who's come in has to be very strategic. They don't want an operational CEO. None of the boards want, right? They love strategy. And our board, extremely fantastic board, really, really great people. But again, there was an expectation that, he should, because they didn't know what the ground reality was. So then I had to tell them that I said, see, right now, I don't want to talk about strategy. The important thing is that we need to know, I'm the doctor over here. I know the patient has cancer or, stomach has to be operated. Allow me to operate. Or you choose somebody else who can kind of, manage this. So please allow me to handle what needs the maximum attention. So my first attention was basically on the program. See, the programs are not good. You're taking money. I tell my guys, this is taxpayers' money. If you're taking it and you don't do a job, it should go to some other NGO who's more deserving. So I started with that, and then I introduced technology at the ground level so that data was accurate. And the data used to take almost 3 to 4 months for me to come from the ground. So if I needed to take some correctives at head office, it was already too late. So we brought in technology, very frugal. We couldn't afford it. We got a GPS date and timestamp with a photograph before and after the session. Simple stuff which didn't cost too much. Implementing that was a nightmare. There was a major resistance, and for whatever reasons I suggested. So we started with that, and we started building depth into the program slowly, steadily. At least, the funders who were there, they started staying with us. It was like, doing a tightrope, or in fact, rather a rope walk and juggling, So you needed the money, you couldn't lose the funders, you also wanted good depth in programming, and you wanted your people to feel motivated, aligned, because see, this is in this sector, you need people who are really, really aligned, passionate, because on the for-profit side, you can still kind of manage, right? But here, if you have to really deliver that, really, you have to change behavior, people have to really passionately believe in the cause, right? So you need far more, I would say, I think, more aligned, more motivated, passionate people over here. So we wanted to also change that behavior within the people, right? So again, I think, so we really had I would say a tough, but I was very excited. Once I got into it, I was very excited. I never had a dull moment handling each and every issue. It used to give me more energy, when I used to see these things than anything else. And I had good people like Arun, who were part of my team. And we got in a couple of other people also, some senior leaders. And what happens is when you get in new people, there are some really good old people. When you get in new people, they also want to prove themselves. So they raise the benchmark. So the good people were there, but some of the people might not be all that great. So they also they're forced to raise the benchmark. So I really found I was very lucky that I found, I'll pick Nikhil's name, who's the chief strategy officer. I found him. I found Dhanesh, he was working for United Nations. And I got people from the for-profit sector who are domain experts in terms of, our CFO, HR, CHRO, etc. So I think that also changed. And slowly, when we could afford, we started hiring these people also. And we started looking at the funding. Now, earlier it was Matthew, then it was Arun, lone person raising CSR. We broad-based the team. We built a structure over there. So it was just not depending on Arun, then it was also, the rest of the teams. We got 3 directors below Arun, as in when we could afford it. We also diversified a funding portfolio. So not only did we have CSR, we started institutional funding. So there's a separate team for institutional. Then we got retail. So we have a retail team which is almost 200 people strong now, face to face, and regular giving, etc. And then we have digital. We have HNI and galas. We were always good at international markets, and that's something which continues. And we're looking at a couple of other like employee volunteering and some of these other streams also we started building. And typically, what happens in an NGO sector? Typically, the Harvard case study again, which says that you can have one mainstream and a second. But we were very ambitious. I said, no, I don't care. I'll do, more than 2 or 3, 4 streams. So we've done that, and I think we've done it decently well. So there are 2 main ones, which are CSR and institutional. Institutional is growing much faster, obviously smaller base, but really growing fantastically. CSR is doing very well for us, obviously. We're the first choice of for most of the corporates, partner of choice. And then retail is growing almost 60-70% year on year for us.
Yes.
And then we have the other streams which are kind of also adding to the whole thing. So I think it's a good situation. So I think step by step we started looking at those 4 P's which I talk about.
Yeah.
So first is people, need very aligned, very passionate people, and I think today very, very happy, like I told you, 4th year in a row, Great Places, one of the best organizations to work for. Second P is about process. It's very important to have a maker-checker system. You should be able to measure. If you can't measure it, you can't track it.
Yeah.
And you build scale only when you start working on your backend systems, your HR, finance, communication, technology, etc. And we worked on each of these pieces, very, very strategically. The third P is your program and impact. If that's what you live for, if you don't have that, then what is the significance, right? So that is something we got technology to at least ensure programs to home. Then we started, going from inputs to outcome. So we did a lot of work on that part of it. And the last is your partners, which is your fuel, your petrol.
Yeah.
Which I've already spoken about, building a diversified funding portfolio. And as we started scaling, obviously our overhead costs came down. Our overhead costs are one of the lowest today in the sector, right? So the technology brings in that efficiency, the operational efficiency. So we could really, really lower. So if you really look at it practically from the time we've joined, honestly, I don't think we've really, a per cost child per child cost or youth has remained that only what we started at that point in time, and we're still managing. And our overhead costs in absolute terms is the same that used to be in 2016 when it was 1/5 the size of the organization.
That's fantastic. So Jayant, what is the vision? What is Vision 2030 for Magic Bus? What are those numbers?
See, I think most of us, all of us Indians, are extremely, patriotic, and I believe in the country's vision of $30 trillion by 2047. And we've kind of pivoted now. This is something that we've already done, but I think we've just kind of polished the story much better. Arun spoke about female participation on the the young people in our livelihood program. Even on the adolescent side, we have 50%, girls. So what we are saying is, see, if you look at it, we've just done a work with a strategy listing with Bain, and they've helped us with this whole strategy, wherein we are talking about, there's almost 400 million or 40 crore women need to be part of the formal workforce in India if we have to get to a $30 trillion economy.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, to do that, the work, if you have to get 40 crore women, and current trends show that, only 20, 25 crore will come into the work stream, there will be a shortfall of 15 to 20 crores. Now, to do that, the maximum leakage doesn't happen at the primary school level, where most of the NGOs work, because there's 99 to 100% enrollment over there.
Yeah.
The leakage actually happens at the 9, 10, 11, 12 age, when the girls are getting into puberty. That is where, people feel they can earn additional income, or the schools are fast, or there's no safe space. And there are multiple reasons, right? That is where the drop off. In fact, if you look at, the whole pipeline, there's almost a 40% drop in girls completing higher secondary. So we said that we have to plug the leakage over there for girls to end up. And so we work at scale on the adolescents. So that's where we're going to focus. We've had the state government partnerships. There are 10 other state governments who are very, very keen for us to come in. But we have to obviously raise that kind of moolah for that. And what we're doing is we're saying that, we take these girls, they complete education, then only can they get into livelihoods. So on the livelihood side, again, we have solutions for the urban livelihood where there are jobs, or peri-urban, but we don't have solutions for the rural livelihood where, the jobs are not there. So we started working on that with Bain. We've kind of come out with a white paper, which in fact we'll be having a convening. We'll invite you in Delhi. We'll be actually launching that paper. So we did our first brainstorming in Bombay just last week. We have 30 odd NGOs, founders, and senior people from. So we're building this whole thing of, we're saying that, female workforce participation, if we have to do that, the work actually starts at adolescent, not when they get into, livelihood. So we're building that whole pipeline. We're trying to build a collaborative, working with different NGOs, partners, government, funders, etc., to build this whole collaborative.
We've lost you.
Are you saying something, Anu?
Okay, sorry. We lost you for a bit there. You were saying something and you went on mute, right? Was that only me?
No,
we didn't lose you. Yeah, no, you're fine now.
Okay. So I'm saying, you already heard that, we'll get to 80 lakhs as it is. That's the committed number, which is already signed up, right?
Right.
On the livelihood, we are already at 200,000, 2 lakhs. So we'll get to 5 lakhs. So these are numbers which we will achieve, I think our normal trajectory. But we are looking at something where, we can actually contribute to the country, make a difference in our own small way, and build a collaborative. We also see ourselves as an ecosystem player where we are kind of, building, we are seen as ecosystem. Also, contributing to the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Another area that we see we playing a major role is, see, the biggest challenge that we have is we are hiring almost 150 to 250 people every month because we are expanding. Now, the biggest challenge is we're not able to find talent, right? There's a dearth of talent in the sector. So when we looked around, now where do you get, a person who understands technology, who's agile, who can work with speed, who understands strong processes, and can kind of, deliver at the same time. There are very few organizations which provide that ecosystem, right? So it's a great learning opportunity for people who work for Magic Bus.
Yeah.
So we've decided to kind of now start spawning our own talent. We are getting lateral hires from outside, but we started working on that at a scale now. So, L&D, Connect programs. So there's a whole lot of stuff which is risk and innovation. So we've rolled out a lot of programs where people feel connected, they learn. And we are saying that after 3 or 4 years, if people find value, they feel that, they should go outside, they should go. So also basically, being a bridge for the sector so that, you can get really good people. So that's the other role that we are seeing.
That's actually quite fantastic because you're solving for your own, but you're also solving for the sector. And you're working towards a systems change when you're looking at this, bridging this leakage gap for gender more participation, female workforce participation. This is really very exciting. Yeah.
Anu, just one last point which I've kind of fired, So the other thing that we're working on the adolescent is we're working a systemic change.
Yeah.
So we're working with state governments to see that, they're able to work, especially with the focus on girls, seeing that they complete education. So whatever is required in terms of, bringing that change, either policy, advocacy, or, resources, we are trying to do that. So because that is the only way that, we'll plug that leakage.
Yeah.
And then we are able to kind of, get to this economic empowerment for women.
This is very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Jayant, for sharing. I'll come back to you, Arun. In terms of your partnership, because you've played such a phenomenal role in terms of the P, the fourth P, for sure. Tell us a little bit about in your journey, some of the more challenging partnerships, some of the more rewarding partnerships, your experience of building the fourth P.
Yeah, I think collaborating, in a social sector is the key to success.
It is.
And I
But
think
very few realize that. I think there's a stage of evolution before people realize, look, we
absolutely,
can't solve it alone. We need to collaborate.
absolutely. And collaboration would mean at various fronts. For example, most of the people say that when you collaborating, well, for us, collaborating is creating partnership with donor partners. We never call them donors. We never call them corporates. We call them donor partners. For us, it is not getting money from the donors, but also getting them to be a part of our programming, contributing, and being with us through our journey. That has been the whole way we manage our donor partners. 95% of our donor partners, they're all the largest corporates and biggest brands, are with us for 5 years and more. Many of them, you would not believe, I don't want to boast here, but many of them are investing 8 crores and 10 crores and 12 crores with us per annum. And the very fact they're doing is not just because we are a very safe organization from their perspective to implement, but also they're investing us because we are very collaborative in nature. We take their inputs, we work with them. Employee volunteering is a very key component. So whether it is specifically Accenture, for example, we work with them so very closely. Fidelity, we work with them so closely. WPP, the list goes and on. So we take their employees and get their help to, work with us and so forth, so on. So many of these corporates are understanding. Some of them are not very understanding. So obviously, it's a personality issue. So obviously, one of the challenges is to ensure that the reporting meets their standards. One of their challenges is to say that, listen, why don't you give me reports on 2nd of the month? We can't do that. So obviously, no greater big challenges on the corporate side. We work very, very closely with them. In fact, one of the funder survey, we do a funder survey. We take inputs from all places in order to succeed, to make sure that we improve on year-on-year basis.
Sorry, one second. What is a funder survey? This is very interesting.
Funder survey is a survey. We take surveys, we collect insights about how the various partners feel about our interactions with them.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you get honest feedback?
Yeah, so we do a funder survey where it's anonymous. 95% of our funders participate. And this year, when we just completed, the score on saying satisfied and highly satisfied is 98%. We're saying they're satisfied and highly satisfied. 92% say that we will refer you to another donor. No, I think these kind of scores would say that really we are good. But within that score, we say, okay, somewhere we need to do better. So they give us suggestions, and obviously we look at these suggestions seriously. So it's like, you have climbed Mount Everest, so can you climb a little bit more? Yes, we do. So that is our obsession. The another collaborative partners for us are employers in livelihood. Okay, I'm talking more on livelihood. We work with 5,000 employers, and many of them are like Wipros of the world, they're Cognizants of the world, and so forth, so on. So they have their own requirements. And I guess we have a great partnership with them. They come and are with us to tell the youth what a shop floor looks like in a very busy moment. So they are just not employing our youths, but they also are with us to touch base with the youths and show them that if you do well in the course, you will get this kind of an employment and you are with us. So they are actually collaborating rather than arguing with us, rather than just doing what they are supposed to do, just give jobs. Then another set of employers, another set of collaborators for us are NGO partners like you all. We had a mandate to onboard LGBTQ+, which is the most difficult beneficiary you could work with. We had no understanding of it. But we went to our NGO partners, we helped them, they help us. And obviously they knew where these LGBTQ+ came in, and we had a great collaboration. That's another great example. And then there are knowledge partners. These knowledge partners are very, very important. Like Bain is a knowledge partner for us. They do help us to, or Accenture consulting firm is a knowledge partner for us. They help us in various forms and assignment to sort of work with us. We work with all the other stakeholders, like government partnerships, just to make sure that we are a part of the ecosystem, we learn from them, and we contribute to them. So I think one of the reasons why we succeeded amongst the many is this deep spirit of saying we will build partnership wherever we go, whether it's adolescent or youth or anywhere else.
So I just want to ask you a question, because there is an organization that does work in the space of livelihood skilling called Anudeep Foundation.
Yes.
They work in the space of tech.
Yes.
They do some tech skilling.
Yes.
Have you ever reached out to them and had a conversation on how
Yes.
they are doing and what are some of the learnings? Because I know they're going into, some of these are also NGO kind of partners doing sort of similar.
I would say we are cousins.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we know them
that
well and they
approach.
know us well. We know their CEO well and we know them inside out. In fact, one of the reasons why we came into the digital skilling space, which we did 2 years ago with partnership like AWS and Microsoft. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Our knowledge partners are also AWS and Microsoft. We work with them very closely. Was because of what Anudeep does. They were always in tech space. We were not. And then they could only do so much. They said, why don't you also come in and do together, we will expand this space, because many of the engineers not able to get into engineering spaces. So I would say we take inspiration from many of them. And I hope they do also from us.
This is lovely. So I am going to get closely out of time, but I have a lot to ask. So I'm going to just quickly throw 2 questions at you, Jayant, and one at you, Arun, time permitting. But Jayant, to you, tell me a little bit about this whole technology, because clearly a lot of, technology is a very big word. It's expensive, it's prohibitive. What was some innovation you had in building the technology from sort of the beginning? And second question really quickly is, tell me the journey of your engagement with your board, because we feel like a strong board can really be a game changer. So what was that experience? So these 2 questions.
On the technology side, we started really small because we couldn't afford it at that point in time. So one of the first things we started was OSS, which is our internal system where we could see what is happening on the ground. And I'll tell you one story, which will kind of tell you, how difficult it was to kind of implement it. So we said that, we'll take before and after the session, pictures, attendance and everything over there. So, and I just kind of had few months I was into Magic Bus. So one of my colleagues came to me. She says that you don't trust us. You want to track us. As a relatively new kind of a CEO, you also want to kind of, you want your people to like you, right? We'll say we don't care, but I'm sure we all do, right? So I took a step back and I just went back and I mulled over it. And I thought that, is it the question of trust or is it? So I realized that, we have kids. We trust our kids, but we have oversight over them, right? That they don't get into drugs. They're studying properly. They have good friends. Then I went back and I gave the same example to them. I said, see, I trust you, but this is what it is. And I said, trust is also a two-way street. I trust you, but you also have to show that you are trustworthy. And anyway, it was a huge, I think, uphill task to implement that. But we never gave up. And so that was the start. Very, very frugal. Then we got ERP. And slowly, then HRMS, and then a whole lot of different, all disparate systems not talking to each other. Obviously, now the challenge is we are trying to build a system where everything talks to each other. So we are now in that challenge. And yes, I think, also see what started happening is that, as you start building credibility, so this funding typically which used to come for programming. Now you're getting funding even for your vision. If you want tech, there are people who are putting their hands up to fund your technology. If you want to kind of do systemic change, people are putting their hands up to kind of build system. We're building a platform called FutureX, which is the future of skilling. Again, one of the really good impact funders have actually put $5 million into it, which is 45 crores, to help us build that whole platform. So which we are building, ourselves. So I think, if you're doing the right thing, I think there's good money chasing good projects is what I'll leave it at. So that was, and today what has happened is that, when AWS or Microsoft, anybody comes, they start looking at us as a partner because we are the go-to partner in terms of technology, right? We use it, and we also, I think that the digital white collar space, which Arun spoke about, is also an outcome of, some of these things. The second question was on the board engagement, right? See, we have a really fantastic board and really, really good, very, very, I think, top class.
Sorry, it's been the same board since 2016, or your board's
more or less the same board, and very, very bright people. What we've done is we started leveraging each of these people as and when kind of it is kind of required. So one is the fiduciary, finance, audit, governance, which is the standard stuff which the boards are responsible for. But what we started also doing is that if it comes to, finance, we have somebody who's an expert. So if there's a go-to person, if I have any doubts on finance, audit, or any of these compliance issues. If there's legal, then we have, again, a really, really good lady who actually is our part of a board. So you can take all the legal issues to her and she can kind of, guide you, help you on that. Similarly, there's communications. And so we've really started leveraging the board quite a bit. And over a period of time, the boards also kind of, they've seen, how the executive have kind of, performed in terms of, the organization. I would, if I can say that, successes. So the credibility and I think the trust has increased tremendously. And I think I would say to start with, obviously it was difficult because, their expectation was that, you be strategic, but whereas I knew that, I had to roll my sleeves, get into operations. And with the fear that, the board would term you as an operational CEO, and which is very risky for any CEO, right?
Yeah.
But I said, what has to be done, right?
Yeah.
So, and they understood, they supported me on that once they realized that this is what was required, And I think the journey has been really, really good. I'm very fortunate to have, such fantastic board members supporting us.
And then when did you go back to them and say, okay, now let's talk strategy?
So I think that they saw it on their own. They saw that, you were very strategic. I think, this kind of growth, talking about, technology platforms, building this capacity. One of the biggest challenges for any large NGO is also absorptivity.
Yeah.
If, people can absorb 1 crore, 2 crore, but if suppose 15 crores, 20 crores or 45 crores comes, organizations cannot absorb it.
Exactly, yeah.
For example, on the funding side, Arun said 100, I think we have more than 150 funders actually.
Yeah.
Now, with the new CSR law, every month 500 reports have to be generated for these funders. Now, you can't expand your team, as the same proportion.
Yeah.
So what we did was we started using AI, we started using ERP to start building those reports, right? We have an ERP. So take an extract, build it in the format the funder wants, use Power BI, right?
Yeah.
So now 95% of our reports are automated. We haven't increased the manpower. It's far more efficient. Funders are far more happy. But you also kind of automated. So similarly, such stuff you have to, which is, probably strategic at a very small level. But then you'll talk about this FLFPR sweet spot that, I call it the sweet spot, building this whole thing of 40 crore odd women, right?
Yeah.
Again, so, and how do you converge and, put all the pieces behind it? Again, I think strategic. So we have good partners like Bain, McKinsey, Satwa, Tasra, all these people also helping us from time to time. So we leverage wherever it's kind of Richpan, Dalberg, yeah, big time partners of ours.
That's fantastic. I really am out of time. I'm getting pinged from the side that I need to hand over to audience questions. So, but this needs a part 2. There's just too much you guys are doing, and there's too much learning for us. So we will hold you all to another session, because I want to talk about change management and I want to talk about all the work you have done. But I'm going to hand over to Ritu to take over from now for the audience questions.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you. Thank you, Arun and Jayant, for such an insightful conversation and a lot of insight, and questions were throughout streaming. And I have, of course, few questions because we have another 20-25 minutes. So the first question comes to you, Jayant, which is more about what advice would you give to young leaders and entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in the social sector?
I can share from my experience, and it's not a great experience. I'm a failed entrepreneur, right? I did a social venture, which was into affordable healthcare, and I failed miserably. So probably I'm the wrong guy to give advice, but still, whatever 2 bits I have, I'll share. See, if you're young, I think it will be easier for you to get in. I was probably at 25 years of corporate experience. So when I got in, I had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I used to kind of And I remember this very bright guy who used to work with me, a good IIT topper and all that. He used to tell me, Jain ji, आप बहुत ज़्यादा analyze करते हो. आप इतना analyze करना छोड़ दो यार. आप शुरू करो ना, हो जाएगा काम. So that was one of the first tips which I picked up, because when you come from a corporate, especially a multinational, you overthink issues. You want to be totally risk averse. So that was one of the things I think and Magic Bus also taught me that without data how to take decisions, because we really didn't have any data when I joined. So that was also a great experience. The other thing is you have to roll your sleeves. But it's easier for young people, and I really had to the healthcare thing started with a small story, if you might permit. My driver, when I was in Motorola, used to kind of fall ill again and every 15-20 days, and then he used to say, "Mereko glucose laga," so then he used to come back. I realized that this was not glucose; they were actually pumping in steroid. And my first healthcare actually started with that thing, that these marginalized people, they can't afford it; they have to be back into the job because they're daily wages, and because of that, they're completely destroying their whole inner healthcare system. So that was very noble intent that I went in with, but did not work. So I think it's also rolling your sleeves, getting into. I used to go to pharmacists. I used to go to the small doctors. You got the Bengali doctor. Everyone, I used to visit all of them, and then there's a tremendous amount of learning that you have. So I would give these two things: don't overthink, overanalyze. If you are young, I think you are still you can take more risks than people like us who can take. Yeah, the other side is also, when you're jumping into this, see, are you financially safe, financially sound? You have a family to run, and you owe it to them that you don't at least you don't deprive them of the lifestyle that you've promised them.
Sure. Thank you, Jayant. I can ask the next question from you, Arun, and this is: why is leadership capacity building crucial for the sustainability and growth of organizations in the social impact sector?
Yeah, it is. I think I would say that many people ask me this question. I think a social sector organization, whether it is a medium size or a large size, where you transit from being a founder-led organization to being an institute, is no different from the corporate. The only difference is a corporate works towards giving returns to its stakeholders, while here it is social return on investment. And the only difference here, which I think the social sector folks do a much more complex work, because we work with frugal resources. In both, there is human resources and solutions, complex issues to be solved. So leadership is as much a need in the social sector as much as in the corporate sector. The only challenge is that corporate sectors, because it's able to attract talent and has, larger trajectories of financial support, reward system, are able to get good talent, while here we have to, as Jayant mentioned, we don't get as much good talent, and we have to develop the talent. So I guess today we are seeing this in Magic Bus. We are 3,000 employees, and 1,200 are in livelihood, another 2,000 are in adolescent, and the rest is in the support team. And all these people at different levels need to be managed. And I think one of the things we have realized is that if you don't have a good leader, when you're managing a project of, let's say, 30, 40 employees who are doing a fabulous job, but they need to be doing it more efficiently. And you make sure that they are retained, they have a long-term career in Magic Bus. You will find that the program is not as efficient because the leader is not able to inspire them. The leader is not able to get them solutions when they are stuck in challenges, etc., just like we do in corporate. So I guess leadership development amongst the various layers of our staff in any social sector is as very important. And I think one of the best things social sector organizations should do is to invest in leadership development. We did this by building a learning and development cell. Not very easy to do because you don't have that kind of unrestricted funds.
Exactly. Do you get funding for this, Arun? Because it's very strategic funding.
Yeah. So I'm coming to that. So it is a very difficult proposition because donors give you money for programming. They give you very less money for building the capacity of the organization. So as Jayant mentioned, as you must raise multiple channels of funding if you want to grow and scale. And one of them is unrestricted funding, which is retail funding. Now, many of the institutional donors start giving you money for building your capacity once you scale. So this kind of funds which we get from retail and also from institutional donors, we got one very large money from institutional donor just to build our human resources, helps us to build the capacity and institutionalize the organization, because no organization can get institutionalized if your human resources doesn't have a rich talent pool of leaders. Even today, as we speak in Magic Bus, we see gaps in that. And we are working hard to sort of improve that talent level. So definitely the talent level requirement in a social sector is no more different than what it is in a corporate sector. This is something I would want to tell all my co-colleagues from the same sector who are listening to us, saying pay it as much attention. If you don't have resources, get pro bono support through employee volunteering to build your capacity, or else invest funds from your own resources whenever it's available, and don't cringe. It is not only skilling them in technical skills or domain skills, which is required to deliver the program, but also in leadership skills. Definitely, it is something will pay you off in the long run.
I'll just add one more thing to Arun, and really see, I've seen why you need good leaders. I've seen teams, really poor teams start becoming one of the best teams if you have a good leader to lead them. And again, vice versa also. So it's very important to kind of, and Arun said that very correctly, that, you have to invest. In fact, we did two things, So one was we did a performance leadership program. So when we didn't have too much of money, that was when we started. We don't have money now, sorry, okay. So I can't. So when we were kind of really
Never enough
very, very
money
tight,
for all the work you need to do. Yeah.
So we started when I joined, I started a performance leadership program, which was basically picking up the top 40 people, getting them to understand what were the organizational issues and asking these people to kind of, help us solve those issues. And then we used to basically come present, and we used to give them, depending on whether, time, money, resource, effort, we used to give them something so that they felt connected, and they used to kind of start planning for the organization. So it was a great exposing them to, whatever was relevant, what was important. Now we started another thing now that, but yeah, so we call it the CEO circle. So we are really making people accountable. We are also recognizing we are building an environment of meritocracy. We've rolled out a risk and innovation award. So where I'm saying that even if a person is sweeping the floor and he can sweep it instead of 10 and 3 and do a better job, even that is innovation. So they can nominate themselves. So it could be at an individual level or a process level. Now the whole idea is that you change the behavior of the organization so people question what they're doing and can they do it more efficiently or a better way. See, people who are doing whatever job they do, they're far better. They understand that far better than you and me sitting over here, right? So they have the right to it also helps them think and connect better with the organization because they're bringing their way. They're more vested. So that's something that we've rolled it 2 years back. We rolled it, and we have a CEO circle where we call all the top performers every year, and we are the hosts and they are the guests, and we treat them royally and give them a really good time.
So I think this question is a little important. I'll just spend 2 seconds. I know I need to keep an. I think we have computed data where it clearly shows, at least on the livelihood side, okay, which I manage, a center which gives a throughput of 300 to 600 output of youths for training and placing them in jobs. If the center manager is a good leader, okay, in every sense, that program efficiency is very high. If he's ordinary, the correlation is that the efficacy is much above the optimum level, but it's not very high. It's not excellent. And if the center manager is not a strong leader, you find all kinds of problems. So there is and this is something I want to tell all my co-colleagues who are in this webinar, that the right leader, even at the frontline operating level, is your insurance to ensuring a strong programming. And that leader doesn't come fully, in some of carved in saying, I'm ready to operate. Mostly he's an ordinary guy. You've got to shape him into a good operating guy. I wouldn't say that you should make him an ace. And that comes from just making sure that you do this properly. And for that, I think we have just borrowed something from the corporate called a balanced scorecard model, where we have now said every center very transparently we have built a system with all data flows where it measures all the data streams, right from managing attrition to underspends to programming efficacy to many other parameters, where it actually maps that every center on a balanced scorecard, and that gives you the true picture of that guy as that particular DLM as a leader, and that is directly connected to the appraisal system and KRA. Now, probably we are one of the only organization which is rolling this out, and the whole intent of rolling this out was to create a model to say that we can build true leaders if we support them and they know where they are so that they themselves can improve. And I think we are using the proven model of balanced scorecard from the corporate here in our own humble way. Not that we are using a very high-tech automated system. We still, use a lot of manual entries into that. But that's our humble way of saying, social sector needs to have good leaders. And this is one small way of us making it happen.
It almost seems to me, sorry, Ritu, I'm jumping in, that Magic Bus has the head of of the core, systems process, and the heart the heart is in the right place, which is to bridge the gap, to be able to make sure that people have livelihoods, adolescent girls don't drop off, but all the systems and process very much like in a corporate setup, right? Those are things that you would expect or want to see in more and more sort of social impact organizations as well, right? Because it's developing your human capital, right? Yeah. At the center of everything, it's the human capital, right?
So someone asked me, what are you doing? Are you wiping out the tear from that young girl's eyes because she's frustrated, she's trapped in poverty? by just giving that young child a toy or some nice dress, or you will never be doing anything sustainable to. You have to actually build skills in them. You have to build resilience in them.
Right.
I think that requires a lot of process, as much as a content, as much as a delivery engine. So your supply side, your demand side, I know I'm talking like a corporate, but actually we are more beneficiary centric than anyone else. So we blend passion with process, we blend passion and
With
commitment
purpose.
with technology. I think that's what Magic Bus is, right, Jayant?
Yeah.
We don't wipe a year, we don't wipe the tears from the eyes. We just make sure they are self-standing, and that's the difference, and that's sustainability.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Jayant. I think this was very, very interesting. And that somewhere, also makes me think that we have a program called People Practices and how important it is for the sector to really integrate those practices, whether it is.
You can be rest assured we're going to lean on them to guide us through that program.
Yeah, I was coming to that. So maybe when we are developing that program and putting it in place, I'll come back to Jayant and Arun and allow me to bother you at that point. Another question which is open to both of you is vision of Magic Bus in terms of scaling up with different state governments at pan-India level. Any number for near future?
Like I said, Ritu, we've got a commitment of 80 lakhs with the 6 state governments that we've already signed the MOUs with. There are another 10 odd where there are discussions, but we are kind of holding on because we also have to generate that kind of resources to be able to do that. Also, we need to do this right with these 6 state governments. So I think the scope is tremendous. We've also committed ourselves to the FLFPR and the $30 trillion for the country, right? So that's the other big space that we are focusing on. And for that, obviously, there are many areas that we still need to work. We know some of them, but I think there are many answers and solutions we don't have, like rural livelihoods. We've got a foot in the door, but we don't really understand that at scale how to kind of do that. And those are the things that we are trying to learn for ourselves. So that's the direction. That's the direction. See, the numbers will happen. The other important part is get into the real needy areas. Your corporate funding also sometimes restricts you to get into the real needy areas. So we're trying to create a corpus of funds which will help us get into the real needy areas. And that is why, the diversified funding portfolio helps us do that.
Yes,
In fact, there's a question from one of our alumni called Pratik Kandu. And he's written, my name is Pratik. Does Magic Bus work with women in rural areas for livelihood projects? Is the program only related to skilling for employment, or do you support entrepreneurship, micro business enterprises as well?
Yeah, I'll take that. I think, Jan, shall I take that or you'll?
Yeah, please.
I think Jayant mentioned this. You have to start somewhere, right? So we started Urban. We've scaled it. Today we are the largest. We will continue to scale this. And I just want to add to what Jayant mentioned. We are very well entrenched in government partnership. We started 2 years ago, I think 10 states. We also are now got very clear plans, and we are putting the final touches to it to work within the government system for skilling. Because our program and models are proven. So a lot of state governments have shown a lot of interest in us. Now, so that is sorted in terms of, we just have to then keep scaling there, both the government. And then we started asking, India is a country where 70% still are in rural. There are no demands there. There are no jobs. So what do we do? And that is how we just after 9 months of exhaustive study which being carried out for us, of course, pro bono, because we can't afford their fees in that sense. And they did a fantastic work for us. 10 consultants, 9 months, and they have got a blueprint for us ready. And that is where now we will do a pilot. We start small, we understand, we study on the ground. And the whole objective of going into rural is simply to work with women folks who, if we show them the way, were creating market linkages, either through producer groups or individual self-entrepreneurs or SSGs, and show them how they can, together produce goods, and show them how to create market link, and also unlock finance. capital because they are unbanked people. So nobody gives them credit. So can we, we're tying up with various other institutions, support risk to the banks so that they can lend, and hence create this whole model. And we are looking at, again, scaling up in the next 3 to 5 years by starting a small pilot. And that's the answer to your question. And why we are doing it? We are doing it because, as Jayant mentioned, we have taken a stand that whether it is in the metro, whether it is in the urban, whether it is in rural, we will be part of the country's momentum to actually change the women's workforce participation, where when we are now the third, we will soon become the third largest economy. But as per the World Bank study, women's participation in workforce, we are 17th. So we want to change that equation in a small way. And that is our driving force. And more, as we are a non-profit, we will obviously focus on underprivileged household people. Hopefully, it's a journey we will discover, we will learn, we will collaborate. And that is something we hope to be, when we are again back on this webinar, maybe 3 years later, hope to share the same success story like we have done there, hope to be sharing that. And that's our vision, and that keeps us going every morning when we get up, saying, what is the next thing we have to do? We say, oh God, this is more to it. India is a big country, so there are lots to do and lots to create a more inclusive country as we go into a 30 million, because that whole gap between people who are living a dignified life and people who are not dignified life, I think as all good citizens who have been lucky, we need to contribute a little bit more and do that, even if we have to take a little bit of more sacrifice ourselves.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you for that. In fact, I have many more questions, but in interest of time, since we have another 5 minutes to.
Can't hear.
You've gone on mute, Ritu.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay.
I said that, so I'll repeat what I was saying. So I said we have many more questions streaming in, but in interest of time, since we have only 5 more minutes to go, what we can do is we can collate these questions and maybe send it to you and, put it, for people and the audience who are here and still have some questions. But one thing which is coming repeatedly, and I see it also as one of the last questions, that people are looking at some mentoring and coaching from leaders like you, where, they have mentioned that if, we want to scale up, and you can be their mentors to, kind of help them scale up. So we'll come back to you with more questions, but right now, just, because like I said, in the interest of time, I would like to say a big thank you to both you, Jayant, Arun, and Anu on behalf of ILSS. Thank you for being our guest, and thank you for being there for us today. And of course, I'd like to also thank each one of the person in the audience because of your questions, because each one of you were really interacting and adding a lot of contributions in terms of your question has really made this session truly enriching and engaging.